event management platform, and this is the in-event theatre you are at today. We have a little stand next door. If you'd like to learn more about our technology, please do come and join us after we've had Danny's session. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Danny Stevens, a good friend of mine over many years. Danny works for, Danny is founded of fielddrive, and in this session, glasses. So this session is called Enhancing Experiences Through Innovative Solutions, Tech-Enabled Visitor Flow Optimization. So in this session, we're going to dive into the art of effectively managing visitor flows, discover innovative strategies and cutting-edge technologies that can streamline attendee movement, minimize congestion, and enhance overall experience. We're going to explore the power of real-time data analysis, intelligent crowd management systems, and mobile apps that optimize entrance procedures, navigate event spaces, and ensure smooth transitions between activities. I think I'm going to leave it there, Danny. I think that was a good enough explanation of what's going to go on. So I'd like to hand you over to Danny Stevens, CEO at fielddrive. Thank you, Danny.
1, 2, 3. Yep. Good morning, all. Right. Somebody else invented the title for this presentation, so I'm just going with it. We're actually an on-site services company, but I'm not here to talk about the company. I'm more here to talk to you about how technology is affecting visitor flows, the importance of data, what types of technology are out there to track and trace people, how you can use it to enhance visitor experiences, how you can use it to collect data. But first of all, what about the dog? Well, somebody told me one day that if you put a dog or a cat in your presentation, you will be more memorable. So this is probably the only presentation you will see with a dog, and next year you'll say like, oh, you're the guy with the dog and the weird glasses. So remember it. Sometimes people come to me 2 years after and they say, hey, you're the guy with the dog. First of all, if you start using technology in events, it's not about the technology, it's about your objective. What do you want this technology to do for you? What is the outcome? And what are you going to do with the data afterwards? We've seen events where companies implement RFID, NFC, facial recognition because it sounds sexy and it's nice and it's very advanced tech. And at the end of the day, they don't use the data, or they have no idea what to do with the data. So first of all, if you're organizing an event and you're planning to use technology to get more insights, you should ask yourself, what is the data going to be used for? Who is going to manage it afterwards, have ownership of the data, and how can we use it to improve the event? And if you don't have that in place, if you can't answer that question, you shouldn't even think about using technology or about how we're going to manage crowds or whatever. So the first thing is, for every event, just write down your objectives. I want to know, and make it very short, like I want to know how many C-level people were in a specific session. I want to know how many visitors were on a specific type of booth. So make it very clear, and then you can define the technology to identify and track what you want to track. The problem with technology is that there's people. It's not about the technology, there's people and interacting with your technology. And I don't know if you've noticed that, but if people go into a queue or a crowd, the IQ drops with 70%. They go like, they don't even watch what is going around them. They're just following the people in front of them and going with the flow. So whatever you put up there from signage or whatever you're trying to guide the audience with, it's going to be lost for 70% because they're just, oh, I'm at the kiosk. Where's my barcode? Wait, where's that email? Where's the Wi-Fi? Where am I? So your technology can be as swift and as fluent as you want, but you need to take in mind that people are sometimes a bit, and then they're in front of the kiosk with their, where do I scan? The green light, maybe? Yeah, try that. So guidance and taking that audience with you and leading towards a good experience is good. So one of the things we've been trying out lately is instead of putting up signage, we had a DJ in the queuing line, and he was playing like songs like "Pick Up Your Barcode." So make it enjoyable, make it like engage the audience in what's happening, and it creates an atmosphere, and it's also is different than signage or putting up stuff. The second thing is we're starting at the entrance. People are coming in. If there's multiple entrances in your event, there are ways to track how many people are in a specific area. If you have a major event at a trade show, an exhibition, you can actually use technology to track mobile phone signals, put them on a heat map, and show them live to the audience to show where the entrance with the least traffic is. So you can sort of guide them through which entrance would be the most appropriate for that time of the day. So you can follow that data in live. That is something that can be done with easy mobile phone signal tracking. You put up a number of sensors. I'll go more in depth on all the technologies that are out there to give you some guidance of what is RFID, what is BLE, what is facial recognition, facial analysis, facial analytics, how do you use it in an event. But one of the technologies we use is mobile phone tracking, so you actually track how many signals are in a specific area, and you can show that in live data to the delegates or to security to guide people towards other entrances and spread your audience around. If you look at tracking technologies, let me tell you another story about people and about how they interact with technology. If you're trying to find the best solution to get people as fast as possible through the batch printing, there's no use in inventing technology where you can print a batch in 3 seconds if you put other engagements on that kiosk. So take away everything that has nothing to do with the printing of the batch itself, like lanyards. Don't put them at the kiosk, put them behind the kiosk. Don't use your kiosk as an information point for where's the toilets, where's the cloakroom. Make sure that whatever you designed of technology you want to use to the maximum, because people will be getting in front of the kiosk and where's my barcode, where's my email, wait, I've got it somewhere. What's the name of the email again? We're not letting anyone step out of the queue when they don't have their QR code. So we work with a sort of airport type of display, and the most important person in managing the queue is your queue manager. That's the person that's standing at the end of the queue and dispatching people to the different stations. That person makes a huge difference. And if I mean a huge difference, if you send somebody to a kiosk and you queue them up 2 or 3 behind each other after the same kiosk, you will use minimum time. Rather than sending like, oh, kiosk number 3 is free, you go to number 3. No, we actually line them up behind the kiosk and make sure that behind every kiosk there's 2-3 people waiting with their barcode ready. So that can significantly reduce your queuing time, but also the equipment and the staff you need on site, which then impacts your budget again. So if you can check in 250, 300 people an hour with one station, when you need 20 seconds or 15 seconds per delegate, imagine if that same queuing time would be 30 seconds, you would need the double of kiosks, the double of staff so you better get it right. That queue manager is the dispatcher, and he's like, it needs to be somebody that has balls that can send people around, almost push them to the kiosk and make sure that the flow keeps going. So that's a very important one. Take away everything that doesn't have anything to do with the kiosk itself. So the batch printing, the giveaways, the parking vouchers, whatever you need, take it away, put it somewhere else. If someone doesn't have his barcode or needs to change something, I want to do a name change, my role changed in the company, take them away from the normal queue and put them in customer service desk. If they have to queue there, don't worry, but you can't allow one person to block a kiosk for 5 minutes because he just wants to change his name or his function changed. when you look at the technologies and the tracking technologies, so we're past the kiosk, we're past, everybody's got his badge. I forgot one thing. One other way to reduce the check-in time, and we've been using it since 6 years now. We were the first company to introduce it, is facial recognition. Anyone has used facial recognition in an event? Experienced it? You have? No? Nobody? So how facial recognition works is, first of all, you have the privacy regulation. GDPR is very big on that. You might have heard about the World Mobile Congress, where facial recognition was actually sanctioned. There's one very important point. There's actually two very important points. You need to inform the delegate how you are going to use that technology. Why is he uploading his photo, and what is it going to be used for? It needs to be very clear, and you need to have consent about the use of that photo or about that data. So even if you have a database of your staff, you cannot just upload it and say, oh, they can walk in and use facial recognition. No, they need to upload a photo, and they need to give consent that you can use that photo or the biometrics data for that specific purpose in the event. How does that happen? You upload a photo, the photo goes to a biometrics server. The biometrics server is generating a biometrics profile of the person, and the photo is actually deleted. So it's just a biometrics profile. Think about it like a fingerprint, but from your face. You walk up to the kiosk makes a live stream to the server. It generates the same footprint or the same face print, and it matches it with the data on the server. So there's no link between the customer data and the biometrics data, which is very important for GDPR. You cannot store the data on the same server. It's just like a fingerprint, but the fingerprint is ID number 274428, and then that ID number is recognized in the database, and that will actually print a badge. So very important to keep those two separated. Now, what happened with the Mobile World Congress is, first of all, they forced consent. Consent is something you give from a free will. You could not attend the event if you did not consent to the use of facial recognition. Unfortunately, there was a data privacy professor who was speaking at the event, and he said like, oh, I need to upload my photo before I can come as a speaker. So he made a whole fuss of it, he sued them, and they got fined for it. So forcing consent was their first big mistake. Secondly, they worked with a company, a Chinese company with a seat in Belarus, to upload facial recognition data. Kind of tricky. So it's with the facial recognition, it's always a problem. You can convince marketing and sales to use a new technology. The real challenge is convincing the legal department to get compliance for it. They're like, yeah, sure, we're going to do that. No, we're going to first review 75 documents, and before you can actually start using. Sometimes the go or the green light from the legal department comes weeks after the event has already passed. So take care if you want to do facial recognition. There's going to be a lot of explaining, a lot of convincing to do. Other technologies to track. We make a distinction between anonymized tracking and identified tracking. Anonymized tracking is anything that has to do with setting up any type of technology where you can measure how many people are in a specific space. But you wouldn't know that John and Paul and Mark was there. It's just IDs from Wi-Fi tracking, from any other camera where you have head counts. This can generate heat maps. The second one is identified tracking. This is exactly knowing what person was at what specific place at what moment in your event, which gives you valuable data. But think about your objective. What do you want to do? Do you want to use that data to show to your exhibitors that on a heat map that was the most the area with the most traffic, so that next year you can redesign your show floor and make the booths on that specific area more expensive than the other ones? You don't need to know who was there. You need to have a heat map that identifies how many people were there and how the flow goes. It can be used for security reasons. See how many people are in a specific area and build a heat map and eventually split them up in other regions. So anonymized tracking or identified tracking. I'm going to go through some of these technologies very quickly, and they all produce insights. The first one is an apex sensor. It's an easy sensor you can put in front of an area on top of your boot. It will just detect how many people are there, and it will give you a live view on how many people are actually on the boot. You wouldn't know who it is, but you know how many people are on the boot. Secondly is an aperture sensor. It's a camera that looks at the room, and it can tell me there's 17 people in this room. I wouldn't know who they are. There's no facial recognition. There's nothing involved. It's just head counting people in a specific area through a camera. Another technology you can use is Wi-Fi sensors. When you connect to the Wi-Fi, we know your ID of your phone, and we know how many people are in a specific area. So you would set up Wi-Fi antennas, and these antennas can triangulate and make a heat map of where people are in a specific area. Another one you can use, and this is really exciting. This is facial analytics. Have you heard about that? Emotional tracking. This is really the reports we get out of it and the insights we get out of it is really amazing. Think about a camera which captures the audience response as we are speaking. Are you all happy? Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. The camera can also see it, and it actually plots out the behavior of an audience, the engagement. It can identify gender. It can see how different age groups compare to each other. And this is really live data you can use during the event to say, like, we need to review the speaker engagement of a specific speaker. He's giving 3 slots, and those 2 weren't very engaging, so we need to do something about it. You can actually show the data to the speaker also, but then it wouldn't be very, wouldn't be generating a lot of confidence. You can identify dwell times. You can use it on boot, so you can put a camera on a boot, and it would show you how long a person stayed on a boot, what his degree of happiness was, what his degree of engagement was, but you wouldn't know who it was. But that is really usable in any area. And you don't need to know the whole audience. We've done it with audiences of 15, 20,000 delegates, setting up 2 or 3 cameras and capturing the overall view of the audience already gives you a good impression on the sample data you have out of an audience of 16,000. Even in very bad light conditions, the technology is able to recognize emotional reactions and emotional feedback from the delegates. So that's a very exciting technology. We use that in combination with Zenus. I don't know if any of you have heard about the company Zenus. We also use Zenus for the facial recognition technology. And the advantage of this analytics, facial analytics tracking, that is anonymized. So it's data where you don't have to explain about GDPR. That we don't know who it is. We just capture the audience response, and we just capture the engagement of the audience. Then you have the identified tracking. Going from lead retrieval, if you go on a booth, people scan you. They know who you are. They know what interest you have. You can have qualifiers where you take notes. This is where you engage with the exhibitors. Very simple QR code scanning. With the same cameras we're using for the facial analytics, imagine having those cameras on the booth, and you can say, leave your data here, request information. You can, the cameras that are used for the tracking of the audience and the emotional analytics can also capture QR codes. So if you want, you can show your QR code to the camera. You could get a ping on a mobile app to show your interest, or you could have several cameras showing interests for a specific product. So you might have a big booth at, I don't know, Matexpo. You're interested in cranes or digging machines. You're interested in a specific product. You show your barcode, and you will get automatically in touch with the sales team, or you will get documentation sent to you, whatever. And this is great if you combine it with the lead retrieval data, because you might have a crowded stand where you have only 6 salespeople in a specific area, and otherwise people are standing there and you might lose them. So this is another way to engage, but also that same camera tracks how many people are on your stand, how long they stayed. And the technology is even able to identify booth staff. They can trim out all the staff that is on your booth. Based on the facial analytics, it wouldn't know who you are, but it would create unique biometrics profiles and just trim out all the staff or suppliers that have been on the booth. So it's really in terms of data valuation, it's really good. RFID. Anyone worked with RFID before? Do you know what it is? RFID is identify tracking, where you have a chip in your badge, comparable when you go to a bookstore and you walk through these gates and it goes beep, 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 you forgot to pay for it. That's actually RFID. It's an antenna or a beamer that sends out a signal, and the little antenna that is in your badge is bouncing back that signal with an ID of that specific chip. So you have this reader. It checks everybody that comes through a gate or through one of those detection pods. It bounces back the signal, so the initiator is the beacon or the kiosk that is sending out a signal and reflecting back these tags. Now the problem with RFID is it's identify tracking, but its accuracy is like 70–80%. You should always expect that 20–25% of the audience is not captured, because you might have this badge and your phone next to it, and it interferes with the signal. You might be very sweaty, and this captures the body moist and it doesn't reflect well. Or people are walking through these gates with 50 at the same time. It might miss a few of them. So it's good for knowing where people were in a specific area, but think again about the objective. It's good to give me an overview of the audience and how they move around, but it's not, if you want to use it for certification, for attendance tracking, if people actually were in that session, that's not a good technology. So identify your objectives, and then you can choose a technology to go with it. So RFID is this antenna sending out a signal and reflecting back this little antenna that's in there. Another one is beacons. BLE, Bluetooth beacons, can either be a little beacon that is attached or clipped to your lanyard or to the badge, or even incorporated in the badge as a technology unit. And this is actually the other way around. It's the badge or the emitter sending out the signal. And you have detectors on booths, on specific areas in your event, and it's this little one is beaming out information. It's captured by the beacons, and that beacon know how many people are in a specific area. You can use it to send live messaging. You can change the color of the light, whatever you want to do. So it's an engagement way, also a good way of tracking. And for now, this seems to be the most reliable technology to track live data. However, in any way, when you're capturing data from a technology, it's always good to have feet on the show floor or on the ground. We have seen live situations where people were like, wow, it looks very crowded. There's a lot of traffic in this area and there's a lot of interest in these booths. What was actually happening was people were queuing because there was a build your own bear free giveaway on that booth, and actually all the people were blocking the booths, queuing for the build your bear, and it showed like there was a lot of traffic on those booths, but actually these exhibitors were not very happy because they had a queue in front of their door the whole time, and nobody's interested. They're interested in the bears, not in the exhibitors' information. So whatever data you get it verified on site, and if you see any deviations, and AI can actually detect those spots and say like, hey, something's happening here. go and check it on the show floor, what's happening, what's really happening, get feedback from your exhibitors, from any peers in your network to identify what's happening and to make sure that the data you get in is also valuable data. NFC touchpoints, near field communication, anyone heard about that? Same type of tracking, it's identified, but there you ask the delegate to do something, put his badge against a reader. So you're asking an action of the delegate, whether with wearable beacons, BLE, the delegate doesn't need to do anything. You can also track BLE based on the activation of the Bluetooth of your smartphone. Again, when you ask a delegate to do something, it's not going to happen. People don't switch on their Bluetooth to, what's in it for me, right? I'm getting a dead battery in 3 hours. I'm not interested. So as long as you, from the moment you ask a delegate to do something actively, then your data accuracy drops significantly. NFC touchpoints, mostly used in send me information about this or that. So you can touch and then you get information, or you get in touch with me. So this is an action where you technically, specifically reach out to a reader and give your information. So, and this then results in heat maps where you can see how many people were at a specific car show in a specific area at what time. How does the audience move around? This can give you insights on the entrances. This is from IBC Amsterdam. We see here that entrance C was the entrance with the most traffic. We had about 1,500 check-ins over a period of 1 hour, while entrance K was moving slightly behind because we moved people. The security moved people from entrance C to entrance K. So you can actually see this in these plots, and you can actually see how the traffic moves around and where the peak times are. So you can use that for your next events to plan for staffing, plan for traffic redirection. Show this data to the audience so they know which entrances are the most busy ones and the ones that are the least busy. Wi-Fi sensor analytics. It gives you basically all the information, visitor demographics. This is a type of information you can get out of. And at the end of the day, the ultimate holy grail is to have the full delegate journey, where you can say like, hey, John came in, he went to this booth, and then he went to the toilet, he went for a smoke, then he went to see that presentation, and so on. So you can do that. You can actually get a view on how people behave individually or as an audience throughout your event. What I strongly believe is that there's not one technology that is foolproof. Think about your objectives, what you want to do with it, and how you're going to use that technology. And I believe that overlaying several technologies, depending on your objectives, maybe combining NFC with BLE for a specific use case, or maybe just doing door scanning with little barcode scanners as they do here. So identify your objectives and then identify which technology will fit your objective first, rather than choosing for the technology because it's cool, it looks, oh, we want to do RFID. Do you know what RFID is? Yeah, sort of. So you have to start explaining, start from the objectives, that's the most important. Any questions? No? Nobody? What brand of dog was that? No? It was a Briard. He unfortunately passed away last year. But thank you for your attention. Thanks for being here. If you want to know anything about our company, it's fielddrive. We're out there with the kiosks. We have Belgian chocolate. So if the kiosks don't attract you, the Belgian chocolate surely will. Thank you.